have been times in our marriage where we would fight for a couple of days about something or other.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't give in. And I remember thinking...
And I have to say, our fighting was never screaming at each other.
No, it wasn't. But it was...
disagreeing with each other.
And overall, not talking, being angry, being,
I think
rude
2
to each
days
other.
was the most anything has ever lasted before we're like, we need to work this out.
But there were times where it was like, we might be fighting about something or disagreeing about something, kind of bumping heads. And then we kind of talk a little bit about it and things cool off just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But then something else comes to the surface and we're fighting again about something totally different. But overall, I felt like there was just tension between us.
We were very we were so attracted to each other and are so attracted to each other when we were first married.
I'm not even thinking when we were first married. I'm thinking after several years.
I'm just saying I feel like we were very similar people, but also very different people.
Yeah.
And because of that, and we both were leaders in our own respect. So I feel like we butted heads a lot. And we both come from families with 9 kids and we both are very close to the age of, so he's number 3, and I'm number 4. And so of the 9 kids. And so I was always around lots of younger kids, bossing them around, and he was too. And so we get married and we start doing that to each other and it just didn't work.
Definitely it did not work. Yeah, for sure. So we've had our disagreements and it's been really hard. But in those moments, I remember thinking we have bad marriage. We don't get along very well.
This is the thing about Michael. If when bad things happen, it's almost like everything is bad.
I just have a hard time handling it. I think at the time I remember thinking we just always are fighting. We're always disagreeing.
It feels like always when
even
it's
if
that
it's just
impactful.
1 day. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then when things are good, it's like, man, things are really good. We always get along so well, and then we have a bad day.
But overall, I really feel like we haven't fought that much in our marriage.
No, we really do. And I think we've gotten better.
Wait, we really do fight that much?
No, we don't. We do get along.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I'm like, wait, we really do? Really?
And I think even more so, we've been doing YouTube full time now for 4 years.
Yeah.
And I think the hardest times of our marriage were, several years ago, maybe
before YouTube.
Maybe when I first quit my job and things were kind of rocky as I was coming and working from home. Before I quit my job when I was still working full time.
Okay, let's talk about this. You're talking timeline of our worst fights and main disagreements that we've had in our marriage. I would say the very first thing was for me when we were married, I was so sick and I was basically a different person once we got married because I got pregnant.
Right.
And I think that made a lot of miscommunication with you because, you thought it would be a certain way. And there was a lot of miscommunication that way because it was we weren't saying what we expected through marriage. In fact, we didn't even know what we really wanted until we were there in the moment. And then we're like, this is what I want. But we never expressed that to each other beforehand. So I think and we've talked about this before where we've talked about how there's just certain things that you can't prepare for until you figure out who you are in that situation. And then you're like, okay, this is what I want.
Right.
Sex.
Well, if you've never experienced it, how do you know what your preferences are?
Or how do you know yeah, exactly.
And so I think that after getting married, we're like, oh, that's actually, I hate it when that happens. Or, oh, can't stand the way you do this or that.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, I think we've worked through so many of our biggest disagreements.
Yes.
And we've learned how to communicate so much better over the last 4 years to where we're at a point now in our marriage where it's very rare for us to disagree or fight or argue about anything.
It feels so...
It's almost so foreign now.
It feels so wrong if we ever are mad at each other.
Right.
I think we're mostly on the same page all the time.
But it's taken us years to get to this point.
But yeah, and you're right.